Good morning. So tonight we play session 2 of our Dark Age of Man campaigns. This is a shared campaign, meaning we rotate GMs if somebody wants to try. The group includes Del, Sam, Chalice and Chains, David, Palindrome Paladin, and myself. And I presented, in our game the GM is called the presenter. I presented the first session. David is going to present this session tonight, which is going to be amazing. I think it's the first time David has run our game. He's played in our game. He play tested and I think in one or two sessions. Well, two now. I think two now. And then of course Del, the co-author, co-designer of Dark Age of Man, and the owner of this here YouTube channel, and Sam has, my gosh, he has presented a complete chronicle, 4-session chronicles, which was unbelievable, and then he's done now, I think, 2 sessions of Dark Age of Heroes sessions, which have been fantastic. So, anyway, since I presented the first game, I needed to make a character, and I thought I would share that character and show again how diverse you can create. It seems simple, right? 5 attributes, 3 attribute points, but how diverse you can be with just this character build, depending on your creativity and your, what you want to try to do. So his name is Melton. However, he'll be known probably as the Outcast or the Monster or something. Okay, Melton. Repute is 4 as it's retallied. You start with 3, but based on how you choose to put them together, you can actually start with 4 repute. Right? Okay. I created him, and then I took the Outlaw profession. Okay, so I put 2 of his 3 repute in body and 1 of his repute in luck. Then I took Outlaw, which gave him a luck improvement. Then I decided to make him an Outcast, which is a -1 in prestige. I could have given him like a mind of -1 or something like that, but I wanted him to be an outcast from civilization, and so I gave him a -1 in prestige, which is a huge. In this Dark Ages fictionalized England, it is in a class hierarchy type world. That -1 prestige is not good. This would be like Rome. So in Rome, they didn't have prisons in Rome, right? They either put you, they confined you for a short time, and sent you, to combat into the army, or they would strangle you and throw you from the rocks, right? So that's how Rome dealt with criminals. The other way they dealt with criminals was to exile them. And you would be exiled in Rome, meaning you existed, but anyone who aided you in Rome would be punished. And so people would not aid you because they didn't want to be punished. So you were an exile among civilization, which was a horrific thing to be. Well, that's kind of what -1 prestige would be in ours. So I couldn't go to Dredgewater and shop. Couldn't go to the tavern and have a beer with the guys, right? So my character is, in that sense, viewed as an outcast, right? So that means I actually have 5 positive repute points because, again, taking Outlaw gave me a +1 luck. And then again, I took a -1 in prestige to add another to luck. And you'll see why I wanted him to have 3 luck. And remember, 4 is the highest possible score you can ever have in 2 attributes in their career. Okay, so when you add that up, right, it looks like, wow, he's got too many points. Well, there's how you can use that profession, one of those professions, to kind of get a boost, but you have to pay the price somewhere else. And then I took the negative to get a boost. So his combat, his body, and because he's an outcast, he's not going to have stuff any better than poor, right? Despite what the rules say, I think, as a matter of fact, I think outlaws all have poor items. So his weapons would give him a -1 to his body, which is a 1, so his combat is 1 and 1. I could just fight with my hands and be body of 2, right? I could wrestle, for instance, or use my strength, but in combat, if you do not have a tool, you get a -2. So a poor thing is better than no thing, because combat is still assumed that you would not want to fight a person with a weapon without a weapon, right? Even if you have a poor item, even a chair is better than nothing if somebody's wielding a stick at you, right? So at least that's the situation in the Dark Ages when you are not necessarily a skilled warrior. Okay, so then I give the description. Melton is an outcast. He lives alone in the woods. Melton's disfigured face and twisted back are why he has been exiled from the civilization. He is feared and believed cursed, but this might be superstitions and ignorance. And of course, in the Dark Ages, is exactly what it is. Melton was born and under a black moon, maybe has a cleft, lip, might have a slightly disfigured skull, a twisted back, and of course nothing wrong with Melton, but society then, fears him and treats him like a monster. So that's exactly why he would be an outcast in this society, right? When people say we haven't gone very far in the world society, we certainly have evolved in the world society, right? The Dark Ages was not a pretty place to be different, right, so to speak. He spends his life hunting and surviving in the woods of Dredge County. He moves around to avoid people. He has been in the southern woods of late, right? So this is just kind of where he might be when the game starts. A little background. He was aided as an outcast by an old pagan woman. You can imagine an old woman living in the woods who is basically an outcast in a way, and she might have helped keep him alive, feeding him, maybe teaching him a few things. His social skills are that of an arrested 8-year-old. So even if he were to be socialized, like with any other player characters, he'll probably, not be very sophisticated, right? Not only can he not read or write, but just doesn't understand social graces. But he survived, and it must be due to his great luck that this child survived to become a man. And again, that's the luck. That's the reason for the luck. His body, despite being having a twisted back, he would have to be strong to survive. He would have to be, nimble of mind. Spirit for this particular creature might not be relevant at all, right? Because he is, in a way, going to have the social graces in the way of an animal. Would have enough because of the woman who helped keep him alive to some degree as a young child. So therefore, luck would have to have played a large role. Luck of the gods, not luck of the gods through spirit, luck of the gods through sheer fate, that he must be capable due to much luck. So then, again, we ask that you explain how you get your 3 repute to start. Now, again, he has 4 due to the kick, so I could explain a 4th, but it's not that important, right? But we want to explain how people earn their 3 repute. So repute 1, his very existence. He is a story mothers tell to scare their kids into avoiding going into the woods alone. 2, years ago, in broad daylight, he delivered to Dredgewater an injured child and set him on the great stump in the center of town. He had not harmed the child, but did find him and bring him back to the Ville. Those who saw him issued the hue and cry, but Melton eluded all searchers. Repute 3. Saverick, the North Warden, did once witness the thing ambush a wild boar and wrestle it to death. Saverick decided it was not poaching. It was survival for the poor wretch. And there's a character in Dark Age of Man that is not, again, just a 3-point buy typical person, right? Whether you choose to be a soldier, a scholar, or a self-made. You don't have to take a profession at all. But it just shows how you can end up using some of our rules to really sculpt an interesting set of attributes with just 3 points, right? And then, of course, using this information narratively, create a pretty interesting background. Not from pre-purchased written material for you, right? I mean, like, I love Barbarians of Lemuria, but everything's pre-written for you, right? It gives you tons of careers and tons of things that you use to fill in all of your reasons. Well, we ask you, or we ask the player, to be creative, get into, dive into who you are, and then, of course, explain how you earned repute in the world around, and try to tie it to some of the other players in the group. And so I certainly took liberties tying my character to Saverick. So I took a liberty that Saverick, Dale as Saverick might not have thought this at all, right? But I took liberties that Saverick would have felt pity for the poor creature. And Saverick, being new to Dredgewater and having been given the job by Washburn after Washburn seeing what he was capable of, you can see Saverick's not completely. I would think Saverick in his soul does this as a job, but Saverick You know, I just perceive Savric is loyal to Washburn, but because he has a job, so to speak, right? Not because he's really too worried about every fish and every deer, right? This is not the kind of poacher that Savric would be angry with. Let's put it that way. So I took some liberties there, but I thought I would share this. It's so much fun, and I don't know about you, subscribers. I grew up 3 dice 6 straight down. I love it. I love rolling up a random character and then figuring out who they are as I play, or trying to make sense of those numbers. Coming to back to gaming, you know, I don't know how many years ago now, 12, 13 years ago, to 11 years ago, whatever, and starting to read and discover other role-playing games. I mean, I literally had only known D&D or AD&D, and when I returned to gaming, I saw Pathfinder and I saw 4th edition. I think people know my story, and I kind of revolted against those and hadn't seen anything else really that I could recollect. I mean, I couldn't even remember what Boot Hill looked like. I couldn't remember what Star Frontiers looked like. I hadn't seen those games since I was a young teenager. So to start to see these other games with point buys and career creation lists, you start going, holy cow, this is an interesting. And again, I hadn't been a player. I'd always been more of a DM, more of the game master, more of the referee. So I had rarely been a player even as a kid. So to come to gaming and not only see these, but learn, play these games from a player's perspective first was pretty enlightening, right? I actually experienced those games from a player's perspective for the first time. So not only was I a kind of a noob player, but I got a taste of these other games. And so you can see what inspired us in making Dark Age of Man, right? A more narrative, character-rich table, a more narrative, player agency, character-rich opportunity to be a character in a world, and you know, still play to find out, so to speak, have a little more control over some of the narrative space around, and then of course the single role system, etc., 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 blah 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 blah. The point is, making Melton was so much fun, and I thought I would share again just how dynamic you could get. Just with the simple rules we put in front of you, right? And again, this isn't custom. I point bought him and then I grabbed Outlaw. But you could literally use custom to kind of sculpt a character as well. And no, this won't break the game, right? It looks like, wow, this he starts with a bonus. How did he get 3, 4, 5, -1? Well, because I put 2 points in luck, and then he got a bonus in luck for being an outlaw. So, but again, that prestige took a dip, which is going to make me. I'm not going to be able to go into Dredgewater and socialize. Now, let's say in this session we do something remarkable and it's witnessed by townsfolk, and I score a repute point. I could use that repute point to negate this, and then it becomes a description that the people of Dredgewater began to realize Melton was not a monster, right? So I can reverse. It isn't like Melton will forever be a monster no matter what he does in game, right? We can reverse these. I could start with a -1 mind as an ignorant, illiterate person, and after a couple of sessions choose to spend a repute I earned to improve my mind. And then narratively I could say down here, I began to learn to read. Just signage around just being among people, I began to learn how to read, right? And I could negate that -1 mind. So your character also, narrative, as they change, you can begin to express that through the experiences they have. So if I befriend a couple of players and we end up saving the village from a Viking attack, and people see it and witness it, and my two teammates tell tales that I'm not what they think I am, that's how I can narratively explain my prestige. And then I would no longer be an outcast. I would be a peasant outlaw. I'd still be an outlaw, right? Because I haven't been doing anything on behalf of the Lord, right? Outlaws aren't producing. I'm not working in the fields. I'm not. So an outlaw is still somebody who lives outside the law, as it were, right? So I would still be an outlaw, but outcast could be removed, and then I would just be a peasant outlaw, right? And then I could even increase my prestige to 1. You could imagine this character's career as I go up, and that might be then represented by what I become then, which would maybe be a soldier for Lord Washburn, right? And starts garnering some respect. So you can see how you're not stuck. And then imagine, right, reversing the superstitions and the ignorance of these people not by what I look like and by my twisted back, but by rather all of my actions, right? And that's the thing you would like to hope you'll see in your campaigns, right? You don't just level up and become a more dangerous warrior, a more powerful wizard. You actually are a human being in the Dark Ages, and what you do and how you go about living your life impacts your narrative as well as the game itself. And that's one of the ways we wanted to liberate players. Be more than just a class. Be more than just a fighter, a wizard, right? Be more than just a pilot, you know. So, anyway, that's grand thinking, I know, on our part, and I know other games really allow this too. So, again, it's not to say ours is the only one. It's to say, coupled with our Dark Ages setting and some of the strict class hierarchy and some of the rules that we would abide by, you can see, and he could also become even a more dastardly. You can't get below -1, but you can imagine I could also I could earn repute perpetrating evil actions. You know, I could earn more repute by being a criminal, the leader of a group of bandits or something. So you don't know how these careers are going to go. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.